We're going to get started here. I'm Dr. Allen. I'd like to welcome everybody out who took the time to come to our Habits of Health class. This is week 3, and basically just to kind of give everyone an idea, because I see new faces pretty much every week, and since I wasn't here last week, if some of you are not new, then I'm just going to assume that you are because I don't recognize you. So anyways, each week we on Tuesday evening, we do this Habits of Health class, and really the goal of our Habits of Health class is we want to help people not just get to a healthy weight, but we want to make sure once they reach a healthy weight that they're confident and comfortable with the ability and the knowledge and fortitude to be able to stay there and to be able to live a healthy life the rest of their life. And ultimately, I mean, the whole premise of the Habits of Health is actually to get better and better all the time. Unfortunately, getting healthy is not a one-time thing. It's something that takes continual effort, and you got to work on it all the time. And so we just want to make sure that we're giving you the tools and the like I said, the knowledge to be able to do that, and hopefully enjoy life the way it was meant to be enjoyed. We always are talking, live up until the day you fall into the hole when they put the dirt over the top of you. Live a very vibrant life. So that's our goal. And so, again, thank you for coming out. There's, I would have to say one of the biggest parts about getting healthy is taking the time to come to stuff like this. Taking the time for yourself and really just coming out to learn what you can do to help better yourself and help, just that first step, taking the action. In fact, that's a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight is about the choices we make and really the effects that they have over a long period of time and how they can move us towards health and happiness or move us away from it. So first thing we always like to do, though, we kind of have small numbers. It looks like we have about 20 or so people in here. But usually what we do is we take a quick moment to go around and have everyone, if you're new, just kind of wave and say, this is my first time. But usually we just go around and say how everyone's doing, how much you've lost. You can just say your name and how much you lost. And then, let me think. Tell you what, I'll keep the tally.
I can do it.
Okay, never mind. Someone else will keep the tally. So I'm Dr. Allen, and I lost 20 pounds about 6.5 years ago when the program was introduced to me. And definitely was not what I had expected to happen, but it worked pretty darn good. So I'm going to just kind of pass the baton to you, and we'll just kind of go up and down the aisles.
My name's Judy. I've lost 12 pounds in 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Very good. Very good, Judy.
Lorraine, 19 pounds.
Lorraine is 19 pounds. Wonderful.
Melanie, 115.
I love
All right.
Melanie, 115. That's fantastic.
Rondalyn, 83.
Rondalyn, 83. Very nice.
Bobby, 30.
30 pounds for Bobby.
Janice, 5.
Janice, 5. Good job, Janice. I would hold up the model, but it's over at the fair right now. 5 pounds is a lot of mass, so don't feel don't feel discouraged with 5 pounds, because literally you look at that fat model, it's like this big. That's a lot of mass and a lot of weight. So don't shy away from that.
Larry, I've lost 36 pounds in 6 weeks.
Larry, 36 pounds. Fabulous. Since you just came in.
I am Tricia Dixon, and today was 85.
85 for Tricia.
Yay.
That is fantastic. Sue.
Sue, and I lost 25.
25 for Sue.
Helen, I've lost 75 pounds.
Helen's got 75.
108.
108, that's all? No, I'm just kidding. 108 is incredible. She's writing them down right here. I'm on top of it. Come on.
She's new.
New, very good. Thank you for coming.
I haven't lost any.
We love new people.
I'm new.
New. Okay, I thought I didn't recognize your faces, so very good. Come back.
132.
Tina, 132. Bill, 50-pound loser. That's right.
Rick, I'm new.
Rick is new.
I'm Debbie, I'm new.
Debbie new. We love our new people. Thank you for coming.
Rita, 38.
Rita's got 38.
Kathy, 32.
32 for Kathy.
Janelle, and for the new people, I've done it just over 2 weeks and I've lost 13.
13 pounds in just over 2 weeks. That's all right. No, I'm just kidding. That's wonderful. Chris.
87 and a half.
87 and a half.
Good.
That's right.
I'm Nancy, and I lost 25.
Nancy, 25. Wonderful. 42.
And together, we've lost our youngest grandchild.
Nice. In a good way, though, not in a bad way. The grandchild is still here.
Dwayne 70.
Dwayne has got 70. Yeah, I tell you.
Is that it?
Oh, did you? How much did you lose? Have you lost weight on the program?
40.
40 pounds. We love all of you guys
Should I
that
pay people to come here? No, just kidding.
promise. We're all here under our own volition and free will. We hardly ever force people to come. So we'll have a tally here in a moment. You know, usually, oh, you got it?
1,142 because I rounded to 87.5 up.
I like it.
And that's an average of about 52 pounds.
1,142. And an average of 52 pounds per person in here. You guys are, thank you so much to all of you who really take the curve up. Makes me feel like I've done something a little more than I have, but I'll take it. So, again, this week, I'm just going to, I don't have it on my PowerPoint, so I'm going to have to scroll down here, but basically this week, we're going to go over, in Dr. Anderson's Habits of Health, it's lessons 6 and 7, and we're basically going through lessons 6, 7, and we're talking about the power of choice and discipline and daily choices for optimal health. And a lot of what, getting healthy is about making that choice to become healthy. And that's really where we want to start tonight is really delving into that. Those of you who were here last week, lesson 3 or week 3 is very similar to week 2. We're going to try and go in a little bit more depth and just really help everyone understand how important it is to understand how powerful our choices are. So this here is a quote from Dr. Anderson that I really like. It basically just says, most of us have been raised to react to circumstances. We haven't been taught to believe that we can adopt a fundamental, self-generated resolve. But in fact, that is how we take charge of our lives. By realizing that no matter how the circumstances, no matter how the temptation, we will do what we know is right because we have taken a stand for the choice we hold most important. Okay, so understanding the choice we hold most important, that's really what we're going to talk about, is finding out what's most important for each and every one of us in here. Because what's most important to me may not be what's most important to you, and there's a lot of power in really defining and knowing what that is for yourself. So we're going to kind of talk about that here. And just so everyone knows, we do have a camera in the top back corner of the room where people tune into our little meetings via the internet. So if you don't want anyone to see you and you're trying to hide out, you're in government protection, don't come up beyond here, okay? So just hide out in the back of the room and you'll be safe. But we want to welcome everyone who are joining us via our camera as well. Excuse me. So Dr. Arnold, I think, talked a little bit about this last week. There's really 2 different ways to go about solving problems. Sorry. And the first one is basically a problem-solving orientation. Thank you, Bill. And the second one is more of a desired outcome, a goal-oriented way of moving through life. Okay, most people, this is kind of what we grow up learning. In school, when there's a problem, you got to fix it. What's the problem? Okay, how are we going to fix it? It's always about if something's going on, math problems, you name it. We have things, there's something we have to figure out, we kind of work through it. When it comes to getting healthy, problem solving is what really causes the yo-yo. Because something motivates us to lose weight. We, like something powerful is like, oh, I got to do something. So we do it for a little bit. We feel a little bit better about ourselves. We stop doing what we were doing. And next thing you know, we're right back to where we were. That's kind of the problem solving. And it's okay if that's your initial motivation is to get rid of a problem. That's perfectly okay. However, what we want to do is help people kind of migrate over to this goal-oriented or this desired outcome where you're creating what you really want. And so what we're going to talk about today is really defining what this structure is so we really know how to go about creating a very healthy, happy body for ourselves. Something that we, that we're proud to be working on all the time, and something that we continually, kind of get after. So we're going to kind of, like I said, just delve down into this. So here we have primary choices, secondary choices, and then what we call fundamental choices. And believe it or not, I keep meaning to shift this around. This fundamental choice is really kind of at the top. In fact, there's a few people in here I know that have been through this before. Fundamental choices are, in fact, I'll share Dr. Anderson's fundamental choice. And I really like how he says it. Basically, in a nutshell, he says, I want to, at the age of 60, be able to do, have a healthy body like when I was 20, to be able to run and do and play and do the things I did when I was 20. I want to be able to enjoy my daughters for as long as I can. I want to be able to sail. He loves sailing. I want to be able to sail all over the place with my girls. I want to be able to have the time to spend with my family that I want to so I can really just take in that whole experience of being a father. That's kind of his fundamental choice, okay? Dr. Anderson, when he was first talking about, going to the gym, and Dr. Anderson, for those of you who are new, he is the co-founder of, and he wrote the Habits of Health, which I don't have up here. It's hiding in my, good job. Can I borrow your book for a second? So it's this book right here. Dr. Anderson is the co-founder of Take Shape for Life, the medical director of MetaFast, which is a tool that we use to get healthy. But so Dr. Anderson is all about doing the things that are going to help us to be happy and doing them around the things that matter most to us. So like I was saying, he says that I go to the gym. He doesn't enjoy working out at all. He says I go to the gym, and half the time I get in my car and hope my battery's dead, so I have my excuse not to go to the gym. But he says, but I go because what I want, that fundamental choice, the thing that's most important to him, that's the driving force for him. He's not just saying, oh well, today kind of stinks, so I'm not going to do it. He's like, you know what? It's kind of hard for me to drag my can out today, but I really want to be able to have. He understands that over time, those little small choices make a huge difference in how he feels. So that's kind of a fundamental choice. Matter of fact, once before I shared. There's some of you may have heard this before, and I kind of want to. A fundamental choice has to be something that really means a lot to you. Like I said, I shared with you Dr. Anderson, and it's going to be a little different for everybody. But there was, what was it? There was a little story I heard once where there was a kid, or a young guy, that wanted to, he wanted to be the master. And he had this mentor that he really looked up to, and he's like, man, I want to be successful really bad. And he's like, will you mentor me? And the mentor says, you bet, I'll mentor you. He's like, meet me down at the beach at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. And so the kid's like, all right, whatever, I'll do it. And he shows up at the beach, and the mentor's like, all right, let's go. And they start walking out into the water. And they're wading a little bit deeper, and this kid's thinking, what on earth are we doing? I want to know how to be successful. What are we doing? And so they basically keep wandering out until the water's about right up here. And the mentor grabs this kid and basically jams his head underwater and holds him underwater for some time. The kid's fighting and thrashing, trying to get up for air, but he's just holding him down there. And after 45 seconds, maybe a minute, he's holding him down there quite. He finally lets him up, and this kid is not so happy. He's probably a little bit ticked off, and basically he says, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Listen. When you want to be successful, as bad as you want that breath of air, as you wanted that breath of air, then you will be successful. And when it comes to getting healthy, that's how important that fundamental choice is. That fundamental choice is understanding that it's got to mean a lot to us because life does happen. And life is going to, throw some curveballs at you. You're going to have crummy days at work. You're going to have really delicious food that you really, really like that someone just lays out in front of you, and it's going to be at the most inopportune time when you're already starving. So, I mean, things are going to happen to where you want to go off program and you don't, you want to cheat or whatever. But that's where this really comes into play, because that gives us the power to be able to take a step back and say, what do I want more? Do I want, the 5 or 10 minutes of gratification of the food or whatever it is, or do I really want it to reach my goal? And so that's kind of how I want you to really think about that fundamental choice. Now we have the primary choice, and then what we have is the secondary choice. I'm going to go back up to this little chart here. So right here, this here would be kind of like a primary choice. Okay, a primary choice is something like your goals that you're going after. That fundamental choice is a little bit, the hierarchy, it's a little bit higher up, but that primary goal, or that primary goal is going to take you closer to what you fundamentally want. So these are kind of more short-term things. It's kind of like if you were to look out of the airplane window at 30,000 feet, you can see a big, vast area all below you, okay? But you can't see a lot of definition. You can't see, the outlines of homes, and you can't really see that all that well. You can kind of just see general landmarks. As you zoom in, what happens, all of a sudden things become more clear to you, and you understand, you start seeing the things that you may recognize even better as landmarks, and you'll see the definition and the detail. So this here is, we're kind of zooming down in from that 30,000 foot view to be able to see something that's more attainable, okay? And then the secondary choices are all of the things that are going to support and kind of move us towards our primary choice. So, and if you kind of look at this, and then current reality down here, that's the honest truth. Where am I right now? Because what that does is knowing where you are and being honest with yourself, it allows you to very specifically kind of dial in, what's my next step? What do I need to do each and every day to get to here that's going to get me closer to here? And so, so these kinds of things. And secondary choices, they're going to be things that basically a secondary choice is something that sometimes you're going to do what you don't want to do, and you're going to not do some of the things you do want to do. Meaning, if you want that pizza or whatever it is, you're not going to do that right now, at least not while you're working on getting yourself to your healthy weight. So, and there's things that going to the gym is one of those things, or doing the 5-in-1 program to help as a tool to help you get to where you want to go. Sometimes you don't want to do that, but that's what's going to get you to where you want to be. So, and again, this is an advancing pattern. This is something that's going to help build momentum with each little success. In fact, I actually really like, this was shared with me by one of Bill's health coaches that lost over, I think it was 250 pounds. And basically, he broke his weight loss, his whole journey, into 10-pound increments. And for him, it was, to him, it was like, okay, I'm moving the chains. Every 10 pounds, I'm moving the chains. So to me, I like the football analogy of how this whole program works, or this particular structure. When you have this structural tension and you understand your primary and secondary goals and your fundamental choice, it really fits into that model. So if the end zone, the touchdown, is that fundamental choice, what happens, so let's just say out here is the touchdown, okay? Well, yeah, let's just say out here is the touchdown. The fundamental choice is to make it to that end zone. Let's say you're backed all the way up to this other end zone down here, and you're like inches from being pushed into the other team's end zone. What happens when you're on a football team is the pressure's on, okay? When someone's backed up against their own end zone, the pressure's on. They feel it a lot because they're afraid they're going to get sacked in there and they're going to lose points, and so there's a lot of doubt, and they really are feeling it. When you start the program, or when you start on a journey to get healthy, it feels like the world's against you. I would be willing to bet that of the 1,100 pounds lost in here, that most people who lost that weight felt like their back was up against the wall, and that there was no chance in heck that they were going to get to where they are right now. And that's the same way it feels when you're kind of in this scenario. It's like, look, we get it. We understand that you kind of feel backed up against the wall and that everyone's against you. But what happens is, as we set the chains 10 yards, and what do you do in between those 10 yards? You're calling plays. You're calling strategies. You're strategizing in ways to try to advance the ball forward. So again, we're talking about that, just moving down the football field. Here's what's interesting about this structure is every time you move those chains 10 yards, as a football team does move down the field, as they get closer to the end zone they're trying to reach, they get more and more confident. They start moving faster. And once you move all the way down the field, you watch a team that's ever done it, and man, they really get a lot of confidence when they're up towards it, about to score their touchdown. So that's kind of what this is all about, is understanding what really is most important and what really is going to get us to where we want to be. And so this is what we want to do. We call this structural tension. You'll hear it from time to time. But what we're talking about is, one, let's just understand where you are right now. Two, where do I want to go? What's my first goal to get to? And the whole idea, when you get to your goal, what's next? Because once again, getting healthy is not a one-time thing. You don't just get there and stay. So it's once you get to your healthy goal, what do you want to do next? What kind of things, do you want to go and try and see if you can do things that you once used to enjoy? I've had a lot of people on the program. One in particular, a friend of mine lost 60 pounds on the program. As a kid, he loved playing basketball. He says, man, it's funny because he's a pretty small guy, but he's like, I was good. He says, I was really good at basketball, and I had a ton of fun playing. And he said, but when I was 60 pounds heavier, I had a knee that would just wouldn't allow me to do it. He said, I figured I was done. I couldn't do it anymore. It just hurt too bad. He lost his 60 pounds. It was funny, last time I saw him a few months ago, he's like, man, he says, I was playing the best basketball I've ever played. I was playing against young kids, and I was running circles around them. And, he's 50, I don't know, maybe close to 50. But, he's like, man, I'm doing great stuff right now, and he's running on that knee all over the place. So those are the kind of things that, as you get healthier and as you get closer to your goal, what's next? That's kind of what we want everyone to think is always, what's next? Because if you're not moving forward, you're going to have a tendency to start rolling backwards. Matter of fact, it's kind of I work out across town. Those of you who come regularly, the CrossFit gym that like I said, it's a love-hate kind of relationship. But I left for about 3 weeks during the summer, only had the opportunity to work out maybe 4 or 5 times during that time period. And coming back to these CrossFit classes, I was sucking wind like it was the first time I had ever done it. I was surprised at how much I felt like I had lost as far as cardiovascular strength. And the coach over there kind of explained to me something that made a lot of sense. He says, getting healthy is like rolling a big heavy rock uphill. And he says, you keep rolling it up, but the second you stop rolling it and you let it go, it starts rolling back down the hill. And he says, and the longer you let it roll, the more momentum it picks up. And the faster you so that's why I say that, it's what's next. Life, we want everyone to just really go after life with just excitement. There's always something more you can do. There's always something more and again, having a coach, I'm telling you, at the gym, having someone push you is pretty helpful, because they'll push you much further than you ever would on your own. So, and that's actually the power behind the program, is the health coaches that help you while you're on the journey to your weight loss. Our health coaches are people who have been on the program, who have been successful, or are currently on the program. And so to have their support while you're in your journey is really paramount and incredibly powerful. So I already did that. So again, this here, this is just kind of that whole structural tension, just kind of looking at the, breaking things down, that current reality. Here, so if you're trying to work towards fitness goals, you break it down into those daily little pieces. They always say, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, It's one little step at a time, and those little choices over time are what make really the greatest difference in our success. So, and this here, this is actually the last slide I want to go over. But when we talk about foundations of health, and this is kind of what our class is about, is, we want to make sure we help people learn how to eat healthfully. Healthy eating is really very, very important. Obviously, it's very important. But and then healthy weight and normal waist size. So learning how to get down to where you should be. An active lifestyle. When we talk about exercise and everything that, I go to CrossFit. Sometimes, like I said, I don't know why, but I do it because it's, I have some goals as far as my fitness goes. But exercise doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be going to a gym all the time. It could just be that you're doing something you enjoy. Walking, riding a bike, hiking, doing stuff. Move more after you lose your, get to your healthy weight than you did before. We want to make sure that that's, those are the habits that you're adopting. Recuperative sleep. Sleep is actually one of the more important things you can do to help you lose weight. Believe it or not, how would you like to just sleep your weight off? That'd be nice, right? Just to kind of lay down and let it go. Sleep is actually a very powerful contributor to weight gain or weight loss. Not getting enough sleep actually messes with hormones in our body and will actually make us, typically you're going to put on weight. It's basically with the way those hormones change, it typically will make people put on weight. So relaxation, making sure your body's getting the rest and relaxation it needs. That kind of goes together with recuperative sleep, but also, one of my coaches actually says you have to recreate to create. So if you're in the middle of creating a healthy body, which is what we're talking about doing here, you also have to have fun. You have to do fun things that just keep you going, keep you energized, keep your vitality up. So those are also things we want to make sure you're understanding. A microenvironment of health. This is one of those things that when we're talking about the football analogy and having the strategies to get to the next 10 yards, is basically that microenvironment. Those are the strategies. If there are things that are your weakness, make sure they're not in your home. Take them out of your home. If there are people that are toxic to you, that every time you get together you eat the wrong thing, or you drink the wrong thing, or you do the wrong thing, you're going to have to find someone else to hang out with, or at least more frequently. So, those are the kind of things. Create an environment that's going to help you succeed. This here is part of that environment. Being surrounded by people who have similar goals and similar aspirations is very, very powerful for anyone. And if you think about it, there's people in here who have over 100 pounds weight loss. Raise your hand if you have, over 50 pounds weight loss and didn't have a few crummy days along the way where you wanted to bail off and jump off the ship. So if you didn't have any crummy days, keep your hand down. If you did, raise your hand. If you had a few crummy days and you wanted to jump ship, raise your hand. Okay, pretty much everybody. I'm pretty certain on that one. So, make sure you come in these supportive environments. We want to make sure that spiritually and, just on a very personal level that you're healthy and you're happy. And then a support system, which again is this right here. Support and the help of a coach is probably the most important thing, and one of the very most important things to really get to where you want to be, especially if you've had trouble before. If you've struggled with any kind of weight loss in your life, let the people who've already been there help you along the way, and then you'll get to your goal much, much quicker and much more successfully. We are able to, as a coach, we can see more than you can see at this point. We believe in you, believe it or not, we believe in you more than you believe in yourself, because we know how powerful the program is. So you have to just put a little bit of faith in us and trust in that we have your best interest at heart. So does everyone understand? Did I clarify the whole fundamental choice, primary choice, secondary choice? Does that make sense as far as why you would want to put your life in that structure to be able to move forward? Would there be anyone in here willing to share? Because when I first learned about fundamental choices, I really didn't I didn't understand necessarily what that meant. Like, what is an example of a fundamental choice? In Dr. A's book, fundamental choices are things like life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Some of those type of I don't know, what would you call those? Anyways, those belief systems. Is there anyone in here that would like to share their fundamental choice? Just for those who may not know clearly what theirs is. Go ahead.
Well, I just retired from the corporate world where I put my personal life on hold for years and years and years. I have little grandkids. I have a whole world I haven't seen yet. My fundamental goal is to be healthy and active and have the energy and the joy in life that I didn't have for years.
That, I think, is perfect. Absolutely. So for any of the, just in case you couldn't on the microphone here, who's watching us, what was your name again? I'm sorry.
Judy.
Judy basically lived her life in the corporate world and has missed out a lot of her grandkids or kids, and basically now at this point she wants to be able to be healthy and vibrant and happy and active enough to be able to enjoy her grandkids, which she was never able to do before because of basically the structure she was stuck in, the corporate world. So, and that's wonderful to be able to, personally I think family is probably one of the most powerful motivators and fundamental choices to be able to, honestly, what matters most in our life? It's the people we care about. It's our family. It's the people we associate with. And so, a fundamental choice, I think that's wonderful. For me, it would be very, very similar. In fact, it kind of was a couple of years back. In fact, it's got to be about 4 or 5 years ago when I was just barely learning about this program. I was playing catch with a football with my younger brother-in-law, who was about 16 at the time, and we were running little pass patterns like you'd run and they'd pass to you, you'd catch it. And I'll tell you what, after just a few short moments of running around catching that ball, I was huffing and puffing really bad. And at the time, my oldest son was probably only about 3, and then my 3 or 4, and then my second or my third child, which is my youngest son, he might have been 1 or 2, and I was just thinking, man, I want to be able to do this very thing with them when they're 16. And so in my mind, I was like, I've got a long way to go because, they have 12 to 14 years before they're 16, and I want to be that healthy. I want to be able to run as fast as I can run and play and catch and do sports with them as their practices. I want to be able to practice right alongside of them. And to me, being able to really take a part in their life as they're growing up, that's part of my fundamental choice. And even that being said, there's days that I wake up in the morning and it's time to go to the gym and I'm like, oh, you got to, come on. I'm like Dr. Anderson, please let something happen to where I don't go. But, I just once I get there, I always feel good. I'm always glad I did it. I just don't necessarily like the getting there. So, is there anyone else that has a fundamental choice they'd like? Sue. Oh, no, sorry. I saw your hand in front of Sue. Sorry about that, Helen.
My goal was to get off of my medication for type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure, which I've been taking almost for 20 years.
That's pretty awesome.
When I went on the program, I was taking 8 different times.
8 different medications.
8 different medications. I turned 79 years old last week. 79
years young, thank you.
I don't want to be in a nursing home.
Good.
That's my big goal.
Very good, Helen. So, that's powerful. Here's one of the things about choices. I think that most of us kind of don't think about it because we have them. There really is beauty in being able to make the choice to do something. When you don't have that ability to make the choice, you're in jail. That when you get put in prison, you lose those freedoms to make certain choices. There are people who use gastric bypass because they feel that that's the only way that they can lose weight and get to where they want to be. And what that is that's basically saying you have no more choice. This is all you can eat, is this much food. Okay? There is something very powerful about having that choice and taking it. And again, every choice you make that's a good choice you build momentum, you pick up speed, you're rolling that rock up the hill, and it's getting a little easier because the momentum's behind you. And so, think about that. There are things that happen where you no longer have a choice. If you have a heart attack, there are certain things you no longer have a choice over. You lose certain abilities to do certain things. If stroke, if there's things that you're doing that are taking you towards, an unhealthy life, there are things that are out of our control, and we don't get to choose the consequence. But now we do get to choose that we can move towards the right direction. And I would encourage everyone to just, think about that. There really is a lot of power and beauty in being able to make that choice, and it's so much more special when you do, because you did it, you made the choice, and you took the action steps, and you made it to your goal, and now you're looking to the next goal. And that's really what this is all about. We don't want anyone in here to lose their weight just to put it back on. We want everyone in here to get to their healthy weight and then say, what's next? What can I do to make myself even healthier and happier? So if there's no other questions, thank you for coming. Next week is week 4, and I apologize, I should have looked this up. I don't recall exact. So it's a surprise next week. Come next week, it's week 4.